When I was a kid, I had so much kid energy. I would just be running around, enjoying life. That's the kind of energy I definitely associate with the Fool. Hi, welcome back. Sarah here. So I'm jumping on the tag created by Musings by Mascha. I thought this tag was so ingenious. I'm sure many people watching TarotTube already know what this tag is, but in case this is your first time, this Top Tarot Trumps tag is a video series in which Mascha and all the people who are making video responses will go through each major arcana and just list their top 5 of that major arcana from various decks. So starting off with the Fool, 0, and going all the way to 21, the World. I personally want to take it a step further. There was a video series that I watched a few years back from Lisa Papez on YouTube. The series was called Tarot Memoirs, where Lisa went through all the major arcana and all the different suits, the different court cards, the different numbers, and she shared things like different meanings of the cards according to various books, different personal memories that she associated with the cards, and compared cards from different decks. I always wanted to create my own version of the tarot memoirs in my own personal journals, like tying my own associations and memories into each card. I never got around to it, but I figured it would be cool to start this way by tying some personal stories and personal memories into the major arcana in this Top Tarot Trumps series. So essentially, I'm doing Top Tarot Trumps and Tarot Memoirs all in one. So first, for Tarot Memoirs, I'll share 3 strong memories that I associate with the Fool energy. And then for Top Tarot Trumps, I'll share 5 cards on the screen that are my favorite Fool cards. So Tangy Tarot Memoirs for the Fool. I thought about moments in my life where I was starting something new, where I was journeying into the unknown. One moment, one memory that I do associate with this big Fool energy is when my partner and I went to Vietnam last year with his family. It was my first time going to Vietnam as an adult. The last time I had gone to Vietnam was back in 2009, so I was in 9th grade, just starting high school at that point. Not only was this my first time traveling internationally without my own parents, with my partner's parents, but it was also my first time internationally traveling as an adult. Traveling to different cities and states and countries as an adult compared to when I was a child or a teen, it's very, very different because now I have life experience. I have a better understanding of the society around me, the world around me. I've seen more of what it's like to have to pay rent, to go to businesses, to run a business here. And then going to a different country and seeing how people live, how society operates, being there as my own person as an adult rather than being there when I was a teen and my parents always spoke for me or like created the itinerary for me. It was just very eye-opening. And the last times I had been to Vietnam, I had only been to Saigon. Saigon, or Ho Chi Minh City, is very, very dense and very busy. I had honestly thought that like all of Vietnam was like that, but in reality, where my partner and I stayed, it was a lot quieter. It was like an hour outside of the main city and just quieter and more relaxing. Like instead of the hustle and bustle of motorcycles running outside like 24/7, like it just felt more like, I don't know, a normal city. I don't know, normal as opposed to like super dense and super bustling. Anyway, going to Vietnam as an adult after exploring my own Asian American, Vietnamese American identity as an adult, having Vietnamese American friends and hearing about their experiences with Vietnam. All that being said, traveling to Vietnam as it was a full moment for me. I felt like it was kind of a continuation, but also like a symbolic mark of a new chapter, just learning to explore the world on my own instead of under the shelter of my parents. Granted, I did go with my partner's parents. Maybe in the future I will be brave enough to go to Vietnam like without any parents and just go with my partner and or some friends, but we'll see, we'll see. Another full moment in my life was also last year when my partner and I started couples therapy. In the typical Rider-Waite-Smith depiction of the Fool, you see a character who is about to walk off a cliff. Most of the time, the Fool is kind of depicted as like la-di-da, just very almost foolish, very carefree. They're not looking where they're going. In real life, I would absolutely not be like just la-di-da if I were about to walk off a cliff. I would absolutely be looking at the ground, tiptoeing right up to the edge of the cliff and like too scared to jump or to walk or to move forward in any way. It's probably similar to when people are about to go skydiving and the instructor is like, okay, I'm going to count to 3 and we're going to jump. Okay, 1, 2, and then they just push you. They don't actually wait till 3. I haven't gone skydiving, but that's what I've heard. You know, that's the way to go because if you were to say 1, 2, 3 and then tell me to jump, I would not jump. I would just be looking over the edge of the helicopter or over the edge of the cliff and just be like, any day now, any day now. So I feel like starting couples therapy to me felt just like looking over the edge of the cliff. It was extremely scary, but there was no way to go but forward. We had already committed to finding a therapist. We were already planning our whole wedding. I already knew I wanted to do some sort of premarital counseling. You know, it was an inevitable, like, jumping off the cliff moment. Of course, now that I've been through the experience and come out better for it, I can talk about it and reflect on it in a positive, holistic way. But definitely last year when we were starting couples therapy, it was very scary. We didn't know how our relationship would change. We didn't know what to expect from couples sessions. We didn't know what topics we might talk about or how we might handle them. When you talk about things in theory, like, oh, when we're in a fight, we're going to do this, versus when you're actually in a fight, like, they're just two very different scenarios. Like, you can theorize how you might act or how you should act, but then when it comes down to how you actually act, when your brain is actually activated, your emotions and fears are all activated, like, it's a very different story. So yeah, starting couples therapy and committing to go through that whole process, that was a very big full moment. When you compare it to like going to college, for example, a lot of people around me had gone to college. In school, they teach us about college and what to expect. But couples therapy, you know, it's not like I had a ton of people around me who have gone through couples therapy. I'd only had one friend who had gone through couples therapy. So I only had one experience to maybe go off of. All of that just compounds together to create what I feel like is a very authentic or like epitome of a full moment. Very scary, very trepidating, but there's no way to go but forward off the cliff, take a dive, take a chance, and see where it gets you. The third full moment that I'll mention isn't really one of my own, but it is my family history. A big full moment in my family history was when my parents chose to leave Vietnam and come to America. Just like how I said before about when you imagine yourself as the fool, the cliff edge is in front of you. I can only imagine and speculate what it must have felt like for my parents to leave behind the country that they knew and move forward to a different country. Like, the boat's already in motion, the plans are already in motion. There's literally no way of turning back. When I was getting a haircut from my mom like years and years ago, I remember vividly I was in the kitchen and I started asking her some questions about like what it was like immigrating here. I asked her if it was hard, and she said of course it was hard. She said that she missed her grandma who raised her, and she was like crying, you know, like missing her grandma. But, you know, you're already on the boat, you can't turn back. And once you're here, you know, it's not like you can just fly back to Vietnam, like not in that day and age. Sometimes we hear these stories so often that we get like maybe desensitized or they get normalized to us. It is good to remember the weight of decisions and experiences like this. I think it is easy to say things like, oh, he moved here, oh, he immigrated here, as if it were an easy thing to do, just as easy as it is to say out loud. But the reality is, you know, there is a lot of weight behind these decisions, these commitments, these actions that the people before us took. Choosing to immigrate to a new country is not an easy task. And especially in my parents' case, it wasn't like immigrating was really a choice. They were displaced from the war. Choosing to literally move yourself, your family to a new country, that is a very big fool moment, fool choice. When you're in that situation, sometimes you really have no choice. So for me, this experience, this story, I guess, of my parents and, you know, all of our parents, like moving over to another country, that is the epitome of a fool moment for me. There's really no telling what you'll do when you get to this new country or how you'll survive. The only thing that you can see is just a step in front of you. So I think that is a pretty profound representation of the fool energy. Now, on a lighter note, we're moving to the top tarot trumps portion. I don't have all the cards in front of me. I don't want to, like, in Vietnamese, there's a phrase called moi ra. It's like, make a mess. I really don't want to like haul out all the things and make a mess of all the decks over here. So I'll just put pictures of the cards on the screen. I do have the pictures in front of me right now. So top tarot trumps, Tangy Tarot's top tarot trumps. We'll start with the Way of the Panda, which is one of my ride or die decks. The Fool from the Way of the Panda Tarot is one of my favorite Fool cards. I just watched Laura at Aquamarine 18's video and she also mentioned the Fool, so I don't know what I'm gonna say that isn't just a straight up repeat of what she said. But I guess to describe things I like about it, according to the guidebook, the hat that the panda is wearing here is like a magical party hat. The gist of it is that it can imbue you with the strength, the knowledge, the courage, the wisdom to keep moving forward and not turn back. And I think that kind of like magical item, the magical courage, is I don't know, it's very sweet. The panda's actually walking on top of the world. To me, it gives this idea of the world being here for you to explore. You can take charge of this world. It's up to you what you want to do with your life. And if you choose to traverse the world, if you choose to embark onto a new journey, it's your life. I'm also very partial to the watercolor style that the illustrator Celia Labelle uses for this deck. I really like the galaxy colors in the background. The Way of the Panda was my first tarot deck, so this Fool does hold a very special place in my heart. It just has all the elements of the traditional Rider-Waite-Smith Fool, but in panda form and a lot cuter. Next, we've got the Fool from the Fountain Tarot. In this one, the character is just dashing away, and I find this just honestly so fun. It brings me back to when I was a kid and I had so much kid energy, and I would just be running around enjoying life. That's the kind of energy I definitely associate with the Fool. Running around, this energy cannot be contained, cannot stay in one place too long. There is just this urge, this innate need to explore, to run, to move. This Fool reminds me that movement is an important part of life. Physical movement, mental movement, life movement, going through different chapters in life. Sometimes I start thinking that maybe my life would be easier if it was slower and I would do less things. But the fact is, I do enjoy trying new things and adding new things on my plate. I enjoy the movement that is depicted in this Fool here, just moving around, flitting around, trying new things. The cliffs here, it definitely gives almost a bit of foolish energy, like, homie, you really could fall down the cliff at any moment if you're not careful. But for this Fool, it's not about being careful. I feel like it's about experiencing life and experiencing all the joys that your body has to give you. So what a fun card. Next is the Fool from the Future Ancestor Tarot. So this one, similar to the previous card with lots of movement, this one depicts a Fool diving into the waters. This character's eyes being closed makes them feel very serene, almost like they've accepted their fate or they've accepted their choice. I don't know if I was diving in if I would close my eyes. Okay, I mean, yes, I would close my eyes because I don't want water to get in them. But I feel like right up until the moment, like right until my fingers touch the water, my eyes would be wide open. Or I would want goggles so that I can see like where I'm diving like the whole way down. This Fool, eyes closed, diving like into the water. There's just a very serene quality. I almost imagine like if there were music playing, the music would pause or be in slow-mo as this character approaches the water. So man, this Fool just really, really speaks to me. Speaking of water, the next Fool is from the Flow Tarot. The keyword here or key phrase associated here is a single drop. The Flow Tarot is a deck that is all themed around water, so all the cards depict water in various shapes, sizes, and forms. The Fool being a single drop, especially with this beautiful photograph here, it definitely represents Fool energy to me. When we think of the Fool starting a new journey and becoming all the different archetypes in the Major Arcana, this single drop is a great reminder for me that starting a new chapter isn't about knowing where the finish line is or what the finished result is going to look like. It's just about having the single droplet of water. Maybe the water is a little bit of inspiration. Maybe the water is one single action. Maybe the water is one single decision. Whatever this single droplet represents, it's a whole reminder of this Fool energy. It just starts with a single drop. And then in the future, after you've done that single drop, that single action, 1 year later, 5 years, 10 years, however long later, then you can look back and see the progress. But it has to start with the single drop. Without the initial choice, the initial decision, the initial journey, the rest of the journey will not happen. And the last favorite Fool here I've got is from the Somnia Tarot. So in the tarot memoirs that I just shared about, the third one where I mentioned my parents actually having to leave all their family and familiarity behind, this Somnia Tarot Fool actually reminds me the most of that kind of moment, that kind of energy. We see an anvil holding this bed down, holding the rope down. And this person is kind of wandering off through the window into, the new journey, the new life, whatever. But this person still has ropes that are tethering them to the bed and to the anvil. So this to me represents how hard it is sometimes to leave things behind. In most other Fool cards, we don't see the Fool actually tethered to everything. Maybe they have a single knapsack on their back and one companion, but they look pretty carefree. They look already pretty detached from their previous life or whatever they already knew. But in this one, the Fool is still tethered to the bed, which I take to represent the previous life or the familiarity. The bed is all the obstacles that stop you from going on this new journey. Like I mentioned with, my parents immigrating, it was probably not an easy decision. What other moments did I say? Starting couples therapy. That wasn't an easy decision. We could have chosen to not go to couples therapy and continued on as we were. This Fool could have chosen to stay in bed. They don't have to actually go out and wander into the world and start their new chapter. but I'm seeing this card as the representation of that call within you. Sort of related, I have a friend who really enjoys traveling. They like to go to new places like every so often, like a lot more often than I like to go to new places. I'm very much a homebody, and I know that they like to be outside and in the world and stuff. I never really understood that before because I kind of felt like,
Why can't you just stay put and enjoy like the apartment you already pay rent for?
I don't know what really changed in me, but I feel like I just started to understand better the wanderlust that is in some people. For homebodies, we don't really understand what it's like for people who want to travel, who feel a need to travel. It's not just like I want to travel, it's a need. It feels like your life is not complete unless you've gone out and seen the world. This Fool card from the Somnia Tarot, I feel like represents that wanderlust feeling very well. It's like a gut feeling that you need to be somewhere else. You need to start this journey. You owe it to yourself, or you just feel like it's your life purpose for whatever reason. You know that something bigger is out there for you. So those were my top tarot trumps, my favorite Fool cards, and some of my tarot memoirs related to the Fool card. I hope you enjoyed my spin on it. Thank you to Lisa Papez for creating tarot memoirs like all those many years ago. Lisa Papez has a gold mine backlog of content, so whether you're new to tarot or you need a refresher, I just highly recommend Lisa's channel. She has a whole plethora, a whole variety of videos that you can watch and enjoy. And again, kudos to Musings by Mascha for creating this tag and video series. So that's it for the Fool. If you've got any favorite Fool cards, ones that really speak to you, or any Fool tarot memoirs, I'd love to hear about them in the comments as well. The next one will be the Magician whenever we get there. But for now, that's all I got for today. Thanks for watching. Bye!